Hey folks, if you're out there and you're ready to start your garden but you don't want to start too late, don't want to start too early, this is going to be the video for you. So down in the timestamps below, we're going to cover a bunch of different sections if you want to skip ahead or move back and forth. And it would be great if in the comments below you're telling us where you're at, and if you have any questions, we're happy to answer those if we didn't cover everything in the video. If you're new to the channel, we have a ton of resources from starting seeds to building hoop houses, from small gardens to professional growers all across the country. We've been to a lot of farms and we've seen a lot of things, and we're here to share those stories with you. So my name is Nick. I had my own farm in Paris, Texas, and so I'm coming through this video with a lot of generalities. In that I don't know if you're in Washington or Florida or California or somewhere in the Midwest. And so we're going to speak in a little bit of generalities, but I am going to give you some tools to think about as you're dialing in the exact time to start your garden. Overall, we're looking about March as a good starting point to kind of start thinking about when our gardens are going to come up for the spring and the summer. And if we're looking to do any fall or winter gardening, we're going to take a look at September being that next good round of start dates. And those 2 months are important because we're typically looking for a general nice range of temperatures for a variety of plants. We're looking for some nice gentle rainfall in the spring and the summers that are not so severe in the winter or not so harsh in the summertime. And it's just a good time to start a wide variety of items. We also look at a little bit of frost protection and a little bit of indoor seed starting. So as these dates fluctuate back and forth with maybe some early or late spring showers or late frost or early frost, so we can bring plants in and out to harden off along the way. So if this is your first year gardening, one of the best tools available to you is the USDA's Plant Hardiness Zone. And this is going to give you the first and last frost dates for your area. So about a year ago, this was updated, and we did a pretty extensive yet short video that thoroughly explains all of the changes and how to exactly look at your area and how to calculate some of those dates back to your specific location. And of course, that's in the link below. And now that you know about that tool, some of the considerations that you may do is, first of all, decide on what you're going to plant year one. Then you're going to look at the space that you have, and then as you look up the specific varieties that you may be picking from a seed catalog or an online store, that you can look at the spacing requirement of those plants, and in those specifications, it's also going to tell you when that can be planted outside. Once you decide what you want to plant, when you can plant them, and where they're going to go, you can decide on the number of plants you want to plant. And this is important because if you're going to plant something like tomatoes, which in general you're going to plant once for the spring and it's going to grow all summer, that's just a couple of plants likely. But if you're going to do succession plantings of lettuce and you only have room for, let's say, 10 heads at a time, you're going to want to start 10 heads one week, start another 10 the next week, and start another 10 the next week, and so that every time you harvest something, you have something to replace in that succession hole. You can also take a look at adjusting some of those locations in that if you have room to trellis up a tomato plant, for instance, that's going to grow on a vine, you may open up yourself to more growing area down below so you can grow vertically. And this is for things like tomatoes, cucumbers, some varieties of peppers, eggplants, peas, anything that grows up on a vine that can be trellised up. The other thing I want you to consider is little pockets within the garden that maybe you can stick a basil plant, or maybe you can grow thyme along the leading edge of a garden to really maximize that space. So if it's year one, I really do want you to have some early success, and I want you to pick varieties that are likely to be consumed and enjoyed by yourself, your family, or your buyers at the farmer's market. And I want you to start with easy crops so you can get some of those repetitions as far as planting, seed starting, pruning, harvesting, all that without constantly worrying about growing some of the harder crops that do require a little bit of skill and experience. The great news is a lot of plants require almost no care, but if you're a very busy person and this is the start of your adventure, you can afford to let a few things go here and there and trim up as you go. And the last thing I'll say is if we're talking about when we're going to start our garden, knowing that we may or may not be able to plant exactly in March, it may extend to April or sometimes into May for some of our more northern growers, that you do have the ability to at least start some seeds. You can plant them, up-pot them, and move them up in different stages before the last frost date so you can plant a bigger plant and be the first one on your block to be able to pull some of those tomatoes off the vine. Starting a garden requires careful timing to maximize your growing success throughout the year. Each season offers unique opportunities for different types of plants. with spring and fall generally providing the most favorable conditions for beginning gardeners. Spring brings warmer soil temperatures and natural rainfall patterns that support healthy plant establishment. Now, of course, some of you that may be in the Southwest or in a more desert region, you may not get some of that rainfall, so you're going to want to account for having irrigation set up and ready to go before you need it. So during March through May, you can focus on leafy greens like lettuce and spinach and root vegetables such as carrots and radishes, and cold crops like broccoli, cauliflower, kale, and cabbage. Early spring also welcomes peas, onions, and a variety of herbs. March stands out as an ideal starting month, offering perfect conditions for both cool season and warm season crops before summer heat arrives. Now keep in mind, some of these seeds are going to be grown directly into the ground, while others you're going to want to start inside in cell trays and transplant those out. And just check the variety package for those details. Summer gardening thrives with heat-loving plants between June and August. This is prime time for nightshades like tomatoes, peppers, and eggplants, along with sprawling vine crops such as cucumbers, squash, melons, some varieties of beans, and heat-tolerant herbs like basil flourish in these warmer months. While summer can be challenging for starting new plants due to heat stress and increasing water needs, it's excellent for maintaining established gardens. And that's why you can start some of those vine crops right now inside and up-pot those so they're ready to go. Just think about the bigger the plant, the bigger the root systems, and the more tolerant they're going to be from transplant shock as you're able to plant those outside. Fall months from September through November is basically like a second spring. The cool temperatures and reduced pest pressure make September another prime month to start a garden. It gives you a chance to kind of start over and learn from your mistakes in the spring and to get a whole nother set of reps in before the next spring comes around. It gives you an opportunity to try different varieties of the same type of crop that you did in the spring just to see if it does a little better. Now, for instance, as the sunlight dissipates and gets shorter and shorter days, you might switch to a more red or purple leaf lettuce because that pigment is going to allow more sunlight to get into the plant and may grow better than what some of the greener leafy greens that you're able to enjoy in the summertime as more daylight was coming on. And these are just things that you're going to learn over the course of your years. Hopefully we just saved you a little bit of time. Winter gardening focuses primarily on protected growing from December through February. While outdoor options are limited in some regions, cold frames, low tunnels, frost blanket, greenhouses all give you options to continue growing into the winter and oftentimes let you grow things that are just totally unavailable in your area because you're able to grow basically 2 grow zones below where you're currently at. You can also do things like grow microgreens and herbs inside and in windowsills. But then again, some vegetables like kale and Brussels sprouts and cabbage can withstand winter conditions, especially if established before the cold sets in. This season also provides an excellent opportunity for garden planning and soil preparation. So we love making this type of content just to give you a broad overview and then to really dial in the specifics in the questions below if you have any questions, no matter where you're at. If you need any other assistance, we answer the phone 7 days a week. Our customer service is US based and they're ready to talk to you right now.